Hello and welcome to Jonathan George Vallaria's World Emporium on YouTube. My name is Jonathan George Vallaria, and it's my pleasure to bring you valuable insights on how to improve your understanding of the world through the English language. Whether you're a novice or an advanced learner, our carefully created videos offer captivating and informative content to help you elevate your language skills. Today, I'm thrilled to discuss a topic that has been making headlines lately: the proposed division of China into 8 to 9 smaller, dependent nations. This concept has been brewing for some time, but has gained a momentum in recent years due to escalating tensions between the central government and several of the more agitated regions, such as Xinjiang and Tibet. The proposed division of China would result in the creation of several new countries, each with its own unique culture, language, and history. Some of these new nations would include East Turkestan, Inner Mongolia, Manchuria, Tibet, and Yunnan. Proponents of this idea argue that a divided China would be more democratic, responsive, and representative of the diverse needs and interests of its people. However, there are many potential roadblocks to such a division. For one, the Chinese government is fiercely protective of its territorial integrity, and it is unlikely to acquiesce to any attempt to break up the country. Additionally, there are many practical considerations to take into account, such as the division of natural resources, the distribution of wealth, and the management of borders and security. Furthermore, there are concerns that a divided China could lead to violent conflicts between the newly formed nations. This is particularly true in areas such as Tibet and Xinjiang, where there have been long-standing tensions between the central government and ethnic minorities. The situation in Xinjiang, in particular, has been a boiling point, with reports of human rights abuses against the Uyghur population. The idea of dividing China is a complex one, and it is not without its risks. As the saying goes, divide and conquer. Any division of China could leave it vulnerable to exploitation by outside powers. On the other hand, the idea of united we stand, divided we fall suggests that a divided China could be weaker and more vulnerable to internal strife. Firstly, there is East Turkestan, also known as Xinjiang. This region is home to the Uyghur ethnic minority, who have long complained of discrimination and oppression at the hands of the Chinese government. The situation in Xinjiang has been a boiling point, with reports of human rights abuses against the Uyghur population, including arbitrary detention, forced labor, and religious persecution. Another proposed nation is Inner Mongolia, which is home to the Mongolian ethnic minority. Like the Uyghurs, the Mongolians have experienced a long history of cultural suppression and assimilations by the Chinese government. There have been protests and demonstrations in Inner Mongolia in recent years, as the government has sought to impose Mandarin language education in schools and limit the teaching of Mongolian. Manchuria is another region that could potentially become an independent nation. This area, which is located in the northeast of China, has a long and complex history and is home to several different ethnic groups, including the Manchu, Koreans, and Mongolians. Manchuria was once a semi-autonomous region, but it was eventually incorporated into China proper in the early 20th century. In recent years, there have been calls for greater autonomy and self-determination in the region. Tibet is perhaps the most well-known of the proposed new nations. This region, which is located in the southwest of China, has been a source of tension and conflict for decades. The Tibetan people have long struggled for greater autonomy and independence, and there have been many protests and demonstrations in support of their cause. The Chinese government, however, maintains a tight grip on the region and has been accused of human rights abuses against the Tibetan people. Finally, Yunnan is a region in the south of China that is home to many different ethnic minorities, including the Yi, Wei, and Dine. Yunnan has a long and diverse history and has been a center of trade and cultural exchange for centuries. While there have not been as many protests or demonstrations in Yunnan as in some of the other regions, there is a sense among many of the region's residents that they are not adequately represented and respected by the central government. In conclusion, the proposed division of China into 8 to 10 smaller independent nations is a complex and controversial issue, with many potential risks and benefits. While the creation of new nations could provide greater representation and autonomy for ethnic minorities, it could also lead to violent conflicts and exploitation by outside powers. Ultimately, it is up to Chinese people to decide whether or not to pursue this course of action. Thank you for watching Job and Job Valeria's What Emporium today. We hope this discussion has been informative and thought-provoking. Don't forget to leave your comments below and follow us on social media for more engaging content. Our goal is to empower you to improve your English skills and broaden your understanding of the world.